Hi guys, so we're still with adjusting entities, and this is the second part of your groups na ginawa natin for our adjustment. First is yung accruals adjustment. Second is this one. What we're going to talk about today are yung mga deferrals and prepayments na tinatawag, plus your estimates. So, just a review, when we talk about accruals or the adjustments which um, entail accrual, coming from the term accrue, to recognize. Ano ba yung difference niya dito sa deferrals? Okay? Si accruals kasi, our aim is to recognize. Yun nga. Sabi nung term na accrue, to recognize lang. That is because um, if it's accrual, totally wala tayong nalagay or totally wala tayong na-recognize for those specific transactions na binibigay sa ating um, uh, ng mga problems. Okay? Here in deferrals and prepayments, and what we do lang is for their adjustments ay i-correct yung previously recognized na either yan nakalagay sa ating slide, assets and liabilities, but later on you'll see that there is another method to recognize it. Bakit I want to emphasize that deferrals are or the aim of the deferrals is to correct previously recognized assets and liabilities because this is um, the method that follows accrual basis of accounting. And again, accrual basis of accounting, you will only recognize expense if there has been consumption of the service or there is a usage of good. And also, you will only have income if you already performed service or if you delivered the goods to your customers already. Okay? So, what is deferrals? Or what are deferral transaction and prepayment transactions? Um, the aim in deferral transactions for their adjustments ay yung dalawang bagay. Sabi natin, we update the balances of previously recorded accounts. And the second one is we split mixed accounts into their real and nominal elements. Bakit nagkakaroon ng mixed accounts? Yan. Ano yung real and nominal elements na nagiging mix sa isang transaction or isang account title? Okay? Review lang tayo from your FABM 1. Yan. We have two types of accounts, the real account and the nominal account. What are the difference between the two? First, for real account, we have or we call them permanent accounts because their balances are carried forward next period. So ano tong dalawang to? Dun sa ating kamay na ginamit dun sa overview dun sa first video natin, um, those na, first three items or yung original na elements in the accounting equation, yan yung mga real accounts na tinatawag natin. The asset, the liability, and the equity. While for the nominal account, ito yung dalawa pa na nasa dulo. Your revenues or your income and your expenses. Yan. Those are your two types of account. Bakit sila tinatawag na permanent and real? Yung tatlong ito, the asset, the liabilities, and equity, they are not zeroed out in the normal course of your business. In the normal course of the business. The balances uh, they have at the end of the period will be carried over or carried forward the next period. Hindi sila kasi zero ng dahil wala lang, dahil nagpalit lang ng accounting period. While these two, expenses and, revenues and expenses, their balances are zeroed out at the end of the accounting period. Kaya sila tinatawag na temporary dahil um, ang income for this accounting period will not be recognized as a continuous income the next period. Anong ibig sabihin ko? Um, Revenues ni 2020, para lang yan kay 2020. Hindi yan pwedeng madagdag kay 2021. Okay? Expenses also, expenses ni 2020, kay 2020 lang yan. And expenses ni 2021, kay 2021 lang siya. Okay? So yung mga income and expenses from 2020, or the previous period, will not be carried over the next period. They are sabi dyan, back to zero. Start of the new account. So, Sir Guy, nasa zero talaga sila. Saan sila napupunta? We all know that these two, the revenues and expenses, are elements of your equity. Diyan po napupunta yung mga effects nila. So, si equity po ang nagke-carry over ng balance nila come the next year. But, in our case, for the deferrals, ano lang ba yung importante sa atin? Okay, for these real accounts and nominal accounts, ano yung nagme-mix at the end of the period? Or pwedeng maging mix at the end of the period? Yung asset and liabilities natin and the revenues and expense. Okay? These four items or elements are related because of these items, the deferrals and prepayments. Okay? Ano yung deferrals? Ano yung prepayments? Deferrals and prepayments differ lang in their perspective, but they are um, one in nature. Anong one in nature? Uh, Nauna yung cash payment or yung pagbabayad. It's just that the perspective is different. Okay? Unearned income and prepaid expenses, yung dalawang account title na ginagamit natin. Sometimes we call unearned income as unearned revenue. Yan. Prepaid expense, we can call it uh, specific expense na. Okay? Prepaid rent, prepaid insurance. Okay? But let's talk about the nature of these two. Okay? If you are following accrual basis of accounting appropriately, ayan, ano ba ang unearned revenue at ano ang prepaid expense? Okay? Since dito muna tayo kay unearned income or unearned revenue as supplier, ayan, nakita nyo sa ilalim ng kanyang definition, as supplier, perspective natin, tayo yung nagsusupply ng service, we receive cash from our customer. And that is before we provided services to them. Although, nagbayad sila ng cash, yan, wala pa daw tayong na-perform or nabibigay na service sa kanila. If that is the case, following accrual basis of accounting, is this really an income already? Answer is not. Hindi pa siya income. So, how do we recognize it? Nakalagay na nga po sa pangalan niya. Unearned pa ang income. Why do we call it unearned? Yan. Accrual basis pa rin. Yan. Meron tayong dalawang um, terms na paghihiwalayin na. Yan. Because of the accrual basis of accounting. The earning and the receipt of cash. Okay, sabi ni accrual ulit, when you receive cash, it doesn't mean that you have income. Okay? Or you earn income. How do you earn income in accrual basis of accounting? You have to perform the service muna. Okay? So if you only receive cash without performing the service yet, ano ngayon yung nature ni ni unearned revenue? Yan. The unearned revenue will become a liability. Ayan. Ano yun? Bakit ang gulo mo, sir? Bakit siya naging liability? Yan, income na. Ang linaw-linaw sa pangalan, unearned. Income, unearned. Revenue. Okay? Iha, kahit nasabihin mong revenue, ang pangalan niyan, ang nakalagay pa rin sa pangalan niya before the revenue is unearned. Okay? So, if you are yet to earn the income, the earning of the income will be your liability to your customer. Okay? Patagalog, sir. O sige. Ayan. Sabi ni accrual basis, dapat mag-perform ka muna ng service bago ka makapag-earn ng income. And here, what happened is, binayaran ka lang ni customer ng pera, but you are yet to give them service. So, what would be the liability there? Is it the cash? The answer is no. The liability here will be the performance of the service upon your customer in the future. Yan. So, utang mo pa siya. Okay? Nakatanggap ka ng pera. There would be a debit to cash because nadagdagan ka ng cash. And then, you are to credit your liability for the amount of the cash received. And that is the service to be performed or yet to be performed to your customer. That's why it is a liability. While prepaid expense, lipat tayo ng perspective, ikaw naman yung nagbayad. Therefore, you are the customer um, expecting to receive service from your supplier or to receive goods from your supplier. Okay, what happened here ay nagbayad ka muna. Okay? Dalawa ulit. Sabi ni accrual basis, hindi dahil nagbayad ka, meron kang gastos. Kailangan makakonsume ka ng service or makakonsume ka ng goods bago ka magkaroon ng gastos o expense. Sir, malinaw na prepaid expense yung pangalan. Ulitin ko, katulad ni unearned income, it will not be a real expense or totoong gastos kung hindi ka pa nakaka-consume ng service or ng goods. Ang titingnan natin sa kanya is yung term na prepaid. Binayaran muna. Okay? Kung binayaran muna bago tayo mag-consume ng resource, meron pa tayong tinatawag na future economic benefit. May magagamit pa tayo sa susunod na panahon. Therefore, this is still an asset. Okay? So, prepaid expenses are appropriately to be recognized as assets if you're following accrual basis. And if you're following accrual basis, the unearned income is appropriately tagged or construed or understood as a liability. Okay? Kailan na po nagkakaroon ng confusion or nagkakaroon ng mixed accounts? Diyan sa dalawang yan. Una, asset and liabilities lang sila. Okay? The prepaid expense and the unearned income. What if, and na, dumating ang panahon na yung prepaid expense mo or yung binayad mo kay supplier, nagamit mo na, okay? Or nakapag-perform na si supplier sa atin ng service or naka-deliver na siya ng goods. And also, if you are the supplier naman, what if naka-deliver ka na ng goods or naka-perform ka na ng service kay customer? Yan na po yung nangyayaring mix na yung mga accounts. Part of it, or totally, your asset is already used up. It will now become an expense. And your liability or your utang will already be paid in what form? The performance of your service to your customer. So if you already perform um, service or deliver goods to your customer, it will now be a good income or an uh, recognizable income already on your end. Okay? So, um, huwag natin itong sa ulitin. Punta tayo kay um, sample problem number 1. On July 31, 2020, ice cream company paid 49,200 uh, amount of advanced office rentals for 6 months. The rent is to be applied equally on each month starting August. On October 1, how much is the balance of ice cream companies prepaid rent? So, kung hihimay-himayin natin at hindi pa natin nakikita na ang tanong ay prepaid rent, this is actually um, a prepayment or the perspective that we are talking about here ay we are the customer or ice cream company is the customer. Why? Because ice cream company is the one who paid, di ba? 49,200 for advance. Yan. Ito yung term na hindi, although hindi sinabi na meron tayong prepayment, sinabi advance ang kanyang payment for the office rental. For how many months? 6 months. So, definitely, this is a case of prepayment. Okay? How is that 49,200 to be consumed? Again, the word is to be consumed. This rent daw po is good for 6 months and it is applied equally for each month. On starting August. On October 1, 2020, how much is the balance of ice cream companies prepaid rent? Ngayon guys, um, let's try and understand it using the uh, journal entry. Okay, what happened on July 31 is, okay, we paid cash 49,200. 49,200 na ba? Yes, 49,200. And what we receive is not inexpensive because we are not yet, we haven't used the space provided to us by our landlord. So, we call it rent. Prepaid. Right? Ano ulit si prepaid rent? Yan. It's an asset. Also, your cash is an asset. So, sir, bakit yan naka-credit si cash? Simply because, ano ba nangyari kay cash? Para magkaroon tayo ng prepaid rent. Cash is dispersed or pinakawalan. You let go of cash in exchange of the prepaid. 49,200. Okay, this is the original transaction. This is not yet the adjusting. Yeah. Ang hinahanap sa ating adjusting is on October. And mind you guys, dito nagkakamali ng mga bata sa 31, 30, or 1. Yan. Nagsimula ba siya or na-consume ba siya ng buong buwan o hindi pa siya na-consume ng buong buwan. Okay? If this rent started on July 31, definitely the rent did not is not consumed or was not consumed for the uh, whole month of July. Kasi nga, nag-start lang siya, dulo na ng July. So, kailan ba talaga tayo nag-start mag-renta? Actually, we started renting the space or using the space on August pa. Okay? So, how do we adjust for the prepaid rent? Sabi nga natin, nagiging mix ang mga accounts if not totally nakukonsume itong prepaid rent na binayad natin. Okay? An asset, kapag nagamit na, it loses the characteristic of future economic benefit. Okay? If it loses the economic benefit, it will now become just a gastos or an expense. Okay? So, ganun po ang magiging um, adjustment natin sa kanya. What part of this prepaid rent will now become an expense na? Yan. Question is, gano'n na ba katagal natin siya ginamit? We are asked to provide the adjusting entry on October 1. Okay? So hanggang October 1, magkano na ang ating nagastos or nagamit for the prepaid rent? If we are to look at it, August, September, okay, October, sir, do we include October para masabing meron na tayong expense? Okay? Or nagamit na ba natin siya ng buong October para bilangin siya as a consumed portion of our rent? Answer is no. Because we were only asked on October 1, umpisa ng Oktubre. So, what we have to understand here is that we started renting the place on August. then September, but not yet on October. Therefore, the adjusting will only include 2 months of use. Ito yung tawagin natin, split. Split. I-split natin siya saan sa portion na use and sa unused. Bakit ulit? The used portion will now become expense. The unused portion will remain a prepaid levy or an asset. Okay? So, used is 2 months na sabi natin. And total is good daw po si 49,000 for sales. The unused portion should remain at the amount of 4 months. Ngayon, how do we adjust? Or ano yung dapat natin galawin? Do we show the 4 months? Or are we going to move it using the 2 months that is or that we used up okay, for the prepaid? Answer is we will use this portion. Okay? Why, sir? Because again, adjusting entry should show the movement instead of the end balance of your um, accounts okay, na pinag-uusapan. Here, meron tayong asset na ni-recognize. Ang question natin, paano natin siya from 6 months na 49,000, paparatingin natin siya na maging 4 months na lang. So we adjust it by first showing that there is a use portion of 10 cents. Okay? And then the unused portion, sorry, the used portion as well will be deducted from the recognize natin. Okay? Then expense, we computed. 6 months is equal to 49,200. Now, how are we going to split it? If this is if 49,000 is equal to 6 months, okay? We just divide it by 6, 49,000, and we get 2 months from it. So the use portion will now become 16,400. And deducting from the 6 months, the 2 months that are used, we need or we will only report prepaid rent on October 1 amounting to 32,000. And again, we are not talking about the uh, prepaid rent that is to be reported if we're talking about adjusting. We are talking about how to make this 49,200 become 32,800. So, paano? Show that we already used 16,400. It will now become an expense. Yan. And prepaid rent will also be deducted by the same amount, 16,400. If you're going to do the math, yan, on July 31, there is a debit to prepaid rent, 49,200. And there is a credit to prepaid rent for 16,400. Co- um, combine the effects of the two. That's 49,200 minus the 16,400. We will get really the unused portion of 32,800 na 4 months pang gagamitin in the future or will remain a prepaid asset or prepaid rent natin for this ice cream company disbursement for prepaid rent. Okay, so that is for the first portion of the discussion. What if we reverse the role or we um, look at it as um, the supplier. Okay? What if we're the supplier? Let's look for uh, let's look for a problem na income naman or tayo naman yung nakareceive ng pera. Here, um, March 1, 2020, natin. Jet Tutorials received 60,000 pesos representing advance payment for services to be rendered in November. And at year-end, 70% of the service was rendered na now. Okay? How much is the remaining liability to our customer? This time, we are not asked if it's a prepayment or is it an unearned revenue. You're asked, how much is the remaining liability to the customer? Kung hindi po tayo nakanig sa first portion of this video, mangangarag na tayo. Anong liability sa customer yung sinasabi ni Sir Guy? Yan. Basahin natin ulit. Si Jet Tutorials daw naka-receive ng 60,000 pesos. And this is an advance. Ayan na naman yung term na advance payment for the service to be rendered. Therefore, the service are not yet rendered on March. Okay, or on March 1. Upon receipt of payment, tayo ang nakatanggap or si Jet Tutorials ang nakatanggap ng pera. This time, siya yung dapat mag-perform ng service. Okay? Therefore, this one, ang perspective natin, tayo ang supplier ng goods or ng service. At year-end daw, to be rendered on November 2020. Kaso at year-end, we check 70% pa lang daw ang nare-render na service ni Jet Tutorials. Yan. So if that is the case, how do we record for this kind of transaction? Okay. We go first for the original transaction. Ano ba nangyari sa original or sa unang portion or on March 1? March, naka-receive tayo ng cash. Cash is an asset, pinagdagan natin, therefore, we debit the cash. Okay, ganun na dapat tayo kabilis debit and credit ngayon. Okay? Ngayon guys, again, we are asked for the remaining liability to our customer. That is because upon receipt of cash, we are expected to provide service to our customer. So, we will have kung ano gusto nyo gamitin, that's fine. Okay? Cash and unearned revenue for what amount? For 60,000 pesos. This time, this is not time bound. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya katulad ng renta na every month nagagamit. Okay? Sinabihan tayo na at year-end, November 31. Although sabi sa problem, this is to be rendered on November. Okay? Kaso, we check that on December 31 or at year-end, this is actually not yet provided totally to our customer. Okay? Therefore, we only split the 60,000 amount into two. Yeah. This time, we won't call it used and unused. We are going to use the term perform, and the unperformed. The total will be 60,000 pesos. Ito yan, sila on December 31 daw, ang sabi of them, the service is rendered at 70%. And sabi ulit, may accrual basis of accounting, you will only have an income if you already perform the service to your customer. So what would be the 70% of the 60,000? It's 42,000 pesos. Therefore, the remaining liability, which is as by the profit, 18,000 pesos. Or simply put, the 30% of your total unearned revenue. Okay? Kaso hindi tayo mathematics major. Kasi madali. Nakuha agad natin 18,000 para yung sagot, sir. Kaso, hindi tayo math majors. We are accounting majors. So, let us recognize it in our accounting books. How do we recognize it in our accounting books? We first, we know that we already performed service amounting to 42,000 related to this unearned revenue. Therefore, sabi ni accrual basis, it will now become your service revenue. Revenue. For what amount to it? 42,000 pesos. Um, hindi na kayo. Pero yan yan, nakita niyo naman siya. Okay. Ngayon guys, saan natin ilalagay yung debit? Under cash or unearned revenue? On December 31, it will not be cash or hindi tayo makaka-receive ulit ng cash kasi na-receive na natin siya on March 1. What will happen is, babawasan lang natin yung revenue for the same amount na ni-recognize natin ang ating service revenue, which will be, which is 42,000 pesos. Let's check ulit. We have an earned revenue credited yan, on March 1 for 60,000 pesos. And sabi sa December 31, naka-earn na tayo or naka-perform na tayo ng service, which will be our service revenue for 42,000. Check natin kung ang unperformed talaga ay 18,000 or the remaining liability is magiging 18,000. Again, 60,000 minus the unearned revenue which is debited naman. Tama, nakakuha or magiging end balance natin for the unearned revenue on December 31 will be 18,000 pesos. And that is your deferrals, okay? Or the prepayments na tinatawag. Ngayon guys, ano yung simpleng pag-understand sa kanya? Okay? What we use are the asset and liability methods of recognizing the prepayments and liabilities. Yung nasa screens po natin ngayon. Ang nasa screens po natin ay yung summary of how we adjust for deferrals and prepayments. If we correctly recognize them as asset and liability, since we are following accrual basis of accounting, the adjustment will always be a decrease in asset, depending on the to be recognized expense, which will be the used portion of your prepayments. Yeah? And for the unearned revenue, we have the liability as the initial recognition. And for the adjustment, we check what to be decreased or what to be deducted from our liability because of the increase in our income. Bakit nag-increase ang income? Because we already provided service related to that unearned revenue. Or simply put, na-earn na natin yung unearned revenue. That is your deferrals, and those are your deferrals and